Let me grab your attention for the next minute, because the story you're about to hear has been twisted into myth, dismissed as folklore, and yet quietly investigated by some of the world's most serious geologists and marine archaeologists. And no, the point isn't to prove the Ark existed. The goal is to understand how a real geological event may have birthed one of the most persistent flood legends on Earth. We're talking about a hidden ocean stream powerful enough to remake entire coastlines, drown ancient settlements, and trigger cultural memories of a catastrophic rise in water levels. By the end of this, you'll understand what that stream was, where it lies today, and why its discovery rewrites how we interpret ancient disaster myths. To understand the so-called ocean stream, you have to go back 12,000 years, when the last ice age was collapsing and the world's water systems were shifting. Around that time, massive glacial meltwater reshaped the geography of Eurasia. Lakes overflowed, coastlines migrated, and sea levels rose by hundreds of feet. But the critical detail for our story is the basin we now call the Black Sea. Contrary to what most people imagine, the Black Sea wasn't always the ocean we see on the map today. It was once a large, landlocked freshwater lake cut off from the Mediterranean. Its surrounding regions held early settlements, villages, farms, even rudimentary trade networks. These were not biblical tribes. They were the earliest known cultures of the northern Fertile Crescent, living near water they believed was stable. They were wrong. The key event was the sudden opening of a natural floodgate, the channel we now call the Bosporus Strait. This narrow body of water, today the strategic heart of Istanbul, Turkey, connects the Aegean Sea to the Black Sea. But at the end of the Ice Age, the Mediterranean stood hundreds of feet higher than the isolated freshwater Black Sea basin. According to the Black Sea flood hypothesis, once the Mediterranean breached the land barrier, water didn't just flow, it roared. A catastrophic torrent, an ocean river, poured northward with an estimated power 200 times greater than Niagara Falls. It carved its bed with incredible speed, forming the channel we recognize today. This violent surge is the geological reality behind the idea of a hidden ocean stream. It wasn't underground. It wasn't mystical. It was a massive marine current born from a difference in sea levels and a sudden structural collapse. And that stream, once unleashed, permanently altered human populations along its path. So how does this connect to the legend of Noah's Ark? Through human memory, cultural memory, archaeological memory. Flood myths appear across the ancient world. Mesopotamia, Anatolia, the Levant, the Black Sea region, all centered around a sudden, overwhelming rise of water. When historians compare these accounts, they see narrative patterns: a deluge, a vessel, a small community surviving, animals preserved, and a world reshaped afterward. These aren't identical stories copied from one culture to another. They're independent recollections of traumatic flooding events preserved through oral tradition. The Bosporus flood would have been exactly the kind of catastrophe to imprint itself on early societies. Imagine being a villager on the ancient shoreline. The lake you rely on begins to rise, not over centuries but measurably, visibly, every day. Farm plots swallow. Houses sink. Entire communities flee uphill. From their viewpoint, the world wasn't just flooding. The water was invading. This is where disciplined historical reasoning matters. No reputable scientist claims Noah's Ark sailed down the Bosporus. but many acknowledge that a real megaflood could have given rise to the legend. The ocean stream would have been the force behind it. Relentless, unstoppable, carrying debris, vegetation, livestock, boats, and entire sections of the shoreline for miles. In the late 1990s, marine researchers started scanning the Black Sea floor, and honestly, what they found really added some serious weight to the hypothesis. Buried beneath layers of sediment along the ancient coastline, they uncovered freshwater mollusk beds, preserved river deltas, and even what looked like structural remnants, possibly zones where humans once lived. Now, these discoveries don't exactly prove the Ark story, but they do show, without a doubt, that people lived there before a large, sudden flood. For historians focused on survival, that's the real key. When a population is displaced by an overwhelming natural event, they carry that memory forward, turning fact into story and story into legend. Now, let's talk about where that stream is today, because, yes, this ancient force still exists, but in a much calmer form. The modern name for the location is the Bosporus Strait, which is that narrow waterway dividing European Turkey from Asian Turkey. It's still one of the most strategically important passages on Earth. Underneath the surface, there's a two-layer current system. Salty Mediterranean water moves inward along the bottom, while lighter Black Sea water flows outward along the top. This double current is, in fact, the gentler descendant of that ancient catastrophic surge. What used to be a violent floodgate is now a controlled marine artery, allowing thousands of vessels to pass every year. If you want to take this knowledge and use it for more than just curiosity, here's the simple lesson. Legends actually carry geological fingerprints. You can analyze any ancient story in much the same way. Just identify the natural event, locate the geographical evidence, and then compare the survival memory with the environmental record. This method really does reveal how societies encode disaster and how myths can preserve scientific truth across thousands of years. So, the hidden stream wasn't magic. It was geology, pressure, water and time. More than enough to shift cultures, rewrite coastlines and inspire one of humanity's oldest flood stories. If you found this useful and you want more deep historical breakdowns where science, myth and real geography all come together, go ahead and subscribe to Strange Planet. And don't forget to share this episode with the community.